Welcome to Latina in America, your bilingual destination for all things Latina about our diverse culture, professions, and passion to travel. I am Rosie. Our special guests will share their career journeys and will take us to amazing places around the world. On some episodes, they will take you on those journeys in Spanish. Así es, en español. So come on and join me. Let's learn and travel. It is so good to be with you again. And our special guest is Sandra. Sandra is a Puerto Rican-born New Yorker who is an expert on starting over. In this episode, she shares about her thriving career journey in fashion technology and then all the steps she took to start over, which led her to her current profession as a successful course creator. Sandra is offering us a blueprint about starting something new and taking advantage of current technology to work and connect from around the world. So Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rosie. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited to get started.
I am here in Florida and you are?
I'm in Colombia right now.
In Colombia, the beauty about technology when it works. Well, this is going to be a Spanglish show. So tell us, Sandra, about your heritage, where you were born, and how you living now in Colombia.
So I'm Puerto Rican, but I was born and raised in New York City. So I'm what they call a New Yorican. I grew up in the Bronx, speaking Spanglish, still with the Puerto Rican culture, mixed in with the New York City one. And I grew up there, and the reason that I'm in Colombia now is because I married a Colombian. So I moved from New York to New Jersey, where I met him at work. And then due to a lot of life circumstances, right now I'm working from Colombia.
You were born in New York. So how was your childhood there? What was it like to be a New Yorican at that time?
Life was different because one of my favorite childhood memories is that we had the entire familia in the same block. My aunt lived in the corner, my grandmother in the middle, we lived in the other corner, my aunt's in the same building. So we were all united. And then my grandmother's house was the hub for everything. You know, Mother's Day, Easter, everything was in my grandmother's house. That was like going downstairs and playing with my cousins and knowing that we had to get upstairs before dark. So that was like growing up in the Bronx.
Yes, I can relate to that. Get home before it gets dark. That's about the only warning we had.
Yes. There were no cell phones.
¿Verdad que sí? And as far as the professions that you saw growing up, what was the most typical and what kind of make you think about doing the profession that you chose?
Well, growing up, my family worked really hard. So it wasn't so much that it steered me to this profession, but it gave me more ambition. I didn't want to live from paycheck to paycheck. I wanted more. And then I pivoted to tech after going through a couple of different phases in my career, and that's how I got here.
So how did you find out about tech? What was the exposure? What helped you go and choose technology at that time?
Cuando nosotros, we were younger,
Sí.
Our parents didn't mentor us only because they didn't know
Sí.
what mentoring was. But see, I went to school, I took classes, they were nursing classes. I went to college for nursing, and then I said, this is not for me. Lo aprendí, but it wasn't for me. So then I jumped into another college where I studied studied computer, right? Because there's now is a different terminology. And then I realized that was really what I love to do, because the basis of computer is having a logical way of thinking, because you have to think about workflows and all of that. So that's what I really love to do. And that's how I got here.
I'm so glad that you had the opportunity to even be exposed, because sometimes we're not exposed to things that we didn't know if we're going to like it because we just don't know they exist. And during that time, do you have any mentors that help you throughout? And how was that experience going to technology when you might have been the only one from the people that you spend your time with going through that career?
It was good. I went to work in New York City in the fashion industry, in the tech department. So I just started like more than 20 years. And I had the opportunity que one of those owners left and they told me, you want to come with me to build my own company? And I was like, wow, how many women of Hispanic has the chance to build up their own company? So I said, yes. And I went. And he was my mentor, but I didn't really even know that he was my mentor. That's the funny part. He was mentoring me the whole way. But now I know that that's what he was doing.
Yes. And you just mentioned something very important, that is fashion and technology. Usually people talk about either one or the other, but you had that together. Tell me more about that industry and how did you find out about it?
Well, what was happening was that I went to a college that they had job placement, and then they sent me to this big manufacturing company on 7th Avenue. And a month after I started there, I started as data entry, but entering orders because ese tiempo there was no electronics. So a month after I started there, the girl that worked in the IT department quit. My future boss said, do you want to come work in the main office? So I said, sure. So that's where it all started. And I loved it because we were the IT, we were the first ones to test out things. The Palm Pilot came out, or all the new phones, we were the first ones to test them out. So I was in heaven.
Of course. And what an opportunity was that? And sometimes how it works, we started one way and we don't know that it's just the beginning of a beautiful journey. Yes. You mentioned that you worked in that field for quite some time.
Yes, I was there for about 20 years. I got the opportunity to build my own business. And then after a few years, he bought me out and I found myself unemployed for the very first time. So I decided to come down here to Colombia because I had been traveling back and forth because my husband was here. So I started to look for virtual jobs. And then what happened was I said, you know what? With all my experience, I shouldn't be looking for a job. I should be offering my services. And that's how I created my company.
And there we are, the starting over. How was that transition when you made that decision? I'm going to start my own services. How was that transition to start looking, and on top of that, in a new country? What steps did you take during that starting over?
Well, it was a little bit difficult as far as the mindset, because you're used to working all these years as an employee. You have the boss telling you what to do. You have the boss making the major decisions. But when you have your own business, you have to make those decisions. And then on top of that, I was new to this virtual world. So I had to learn all the things that were going on, all the services that I could provide. It was a little difficult in the beginning, but because of my tech experience, I went through it really quickly.
And it was transferable. We always can transfer something. And how was that search for you to decide, this is what I'm going to work on? How was that journey to decide on what you're doing right now?
Well, it actually came about organically because I started as a virtual assistant. I didn't even know what a virtual assistant was. I started doing research for people. And then I said, okay, I really don't like doing research. And then someone hired me to help them with their funnels. And then I quickly pivoted to course creation. And I said, this is what I love to do, because course creation involves thinking strategically. It involves knowing the workflows. I landed exactly where I like to be.
This is phenomenal. And now let's take a few seconds for a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by our parent show, Life 100 Podcast, as seen on Oprah Daily, where we talk everything about life in English, in Spanish, and also in Spanglish. You can listen at live100podcast.com or on your favorite platform. And now, back to Latina in America. How did you learn to find the right people or the right organization or the right groups? How do you make that research?
Well, a lot of people say that when you start, that you need to niche down, that you need to know who your ideal client is. And at that time, I'm like, how do I know who my ideal client is? And the way I did it was really by trial and error, like working with different clients and knowing, okay, this is the client that I like to work with. This is not the client that I like to work with. So now I know that I work with entrepreneurs and business coaches to help them build their courses. And again, it was organic. And then, of course, I took a couple of courses because it's so important for you to invest in your business and in your growth. So that helped me as well.
And how was for you that experience of landing your first contract or your first project? How did it feel? And what did you learn from it as far as what you knew you did and what you needed to do next time?
Up to now, with every client that I work with, I learned something. My very first client, believe it or not, it was $100 landing page that I created. And I was so excited. And like you say, with every client that you work, you know what to do, what not to do, what boundaries to set, because that's so important to have boundaries. And again, how to automate your processes, because the more you automate your processes, the more freedom you have.
How have you established that relationship with your clients? Because what you do is not an overnight process that takes some time. How did you develop that relationship with your client that is inspirational, but also directional, that there are things that needs to be met by certain time? How do you manage that?
It goes back to having a system, having a process. With every client I learn, I need to make sure that I have certain dates set in, that I manage my projects correctly, while all along making my client feel comfortable about what we're working on. And the fact that I work with them for minimally 3 months, we tend to build a relationship. 90%, I want to say, of my work has been referrals from my past clients.
Beautiful. I'm sure that you have clients that could be from the United States. You can client from anywhere because of technology.
Yeah.
How was that experience starting your business in a new environment that you were not that familiar? How was that for you?
Well, the thing is my whole company is online. It was like natural to me. I still travel back and forth to the United States. My main home is in the United States. So my business is a U.S. business. Okay. So the beauty of it is that I can work from anywhere. But because, of course, you have to research how do you register your business. You have to get a contract. I got a lawyer for the contract. It's building blocks and involves researching and asking questions.
What do you suggest to someone who is starting over or even thinking about starting over and thinking, yeah, I have this idea and how to go from an idea to reality? What can I do right now with what I have? What would be a good place to start?
The first thing is to be passionate about what you want to do, to love what you want to do, because you're starting over. So this is a different phase in your life. You don't want to have the stress or the struggles of working with something that you don't like. And then the second thing is do your research. Do your research, because you could have an idea, but maybe it's something that's not marketable.
And what things are involved in the research?
Well, the number one thing is Googling it, right? So this is a thing that I go with my clients because they have an idea to create a course. Mm-hmm. So we have to go to Google to see what's out there. If people are asking questions about what it is that you want to build, is your service something that somebody's willing to pay for? Because you can have an awesome idea, something that you love, but you're the only one that loves it. So you have to make sure that people are going to pay for what you're building.
And then from the point of having it in theory to the point to actually doing it. Two very different things. What suggestions do you have about making the transition from an idea to actual work as far as time management and as far as progressing along the way while you're learning at the same time?
So the first thing is you have to look what are the legal things that you have to set up in the state that you're in, because every state has a different registration process, registering your name with the federal government. And then you start, even before you start to do that, I always tell people that ask me this, think about what you want to name your business. That's so important, because if you name your business Rosie's Virtual Assistant, you're always going to be blocked in as a virtual assistant. So you have to think about the future. Like, your name needs to grow with your business. So I chose SMC Virtual Solutions. SMC are my initials, Virtual Solutions, but I can provide any type of service. It's just a virtual solution, right?
Great idea. Great idea.
And then as you build your business, this is so key, because eventually you're going to want to outsource as you grow. So start to document everything that you do in your business. Anything that you do, it could be something as simple as how you write an email. Make sure you have an automated email signature. So start to add automations and documenting it, because when you're ready to outsource, you could tell the person, here, this is how I do this. This is how I want it done. And you can be sure that it's going to get done.
Definitely to have a master plan that no matter where you are and the people who will be assisting, they know where to continue. And talking about going to places. Now, you live right now in two places, United States and Colombia. Tell me about your favorite places to travel and the favorite places that you would love to go and visit one day.
Well, I went to Europe a few years back and I really loved it. I went to Spain. I love Spain. And then we were in England for a bit and we traveled to Paris. It's just like in the movies. Like, we went on the Euro train and we spent the night there just walking the streets. And then we took the train back to England. So that was like so amazing. And then I really want to go to Alaska to see the Northern Lights, because I've seen it on Discovery Channel and I just want to see it in person.
I bet that is an experience that you will never forget it. I love traveling. Traveling is one of my passions. And even if I am just local, I like to go on the weekends to see something that I haven't seen before, or to go and experience again something that I love. When you went to France, you went to Europe, how was that experience for you? How was the planning? And once you got there, was it exactly what you were thinking about, or it was kind of a little bit different that you were expecting?
Well, to tell you the truth, most of our trips are never planned. They're just like spontaneous. And I think that a lot of the times, things that are not planned, they come out better. We did do some research about the things that we wanted to see when we got there. And that's like a tip that I tell everyone. If you're going somewhere, make sure you look at all the attractions, even the tourist attractions, but then there's also gems outside of that. So the more research you do, the nicer and the more authentic things you find to do in other countries.
What was your favorite place you remember that left a lasting impression when you visit?
Well, I'm a little partial because I got married in Jamaica. So got married on the beach. I wore a little sundress. My husband wore shorts. And we got married under a gazebo. And then we went to the beach afterwards. So that is like a memory that I will never forget.
Indeed, a precious memory. What a beautiful way to conclude this episode. I am thankful and honored to spend this time with you. And what will be the best ways to reach you?
Well, I'm on Instagram under SMC Virtual Solutions and at Facebook as well. And I'm also on Clubhouse. So those are the three major social media outlets that I use.
It has been a pleasure. Thanks again.
Thank you, Rosie. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for finding and subscribing to Latina in America so you don't miss a thing. And if you like this episode, give us a 5-star review so we can be put on front of more listeners. For details and show notes and how you can connect with and support our guests, please go to LatinaInAmericaPodcast.com. Email us at LatinaInAmericaPodcast@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at Latina in America. Links can be found on the website. This has been Rosie, a Latina in America.